welcome back to my channel. If this is the first time you're seeing any of my videos, my name is Wandunji, and today I want to have a conversation. It's not anything that I learned about writing, but it's something that I've been thinking about, and I want to know that I'm not the only weird person thinking about these things. I want to know that you're weird too, so we can exist together in this weirdness, okay? Okay, also, I do have an Authortuber newbie shout out, and this is for Kelly Damon, who is not completely new to the Authortuber scene, started out as a booktuber, but did other things with her channel, and has now started a channel that is strictly about her writing, and the link to her channel will be in the description box below. Also, I don't know, I tried recording this before, where I'm like eating as I talk, but it takes longer to chew a salad than it does if I was eating like pasta or something. And this is a salad that I made last night. Leftovers basically. And it is mostly quinoa, I suppose. Got a bunch of quinoa. There's carrot, there's onion, there's cucumber. There's a bit of orange right here. There's some tomato. There's this quinoa pasta that we get from Costco. It's really good. There are currants. And there's some sunflower seeds that are not so crunchy after last night. Oh, and there's a bit of lettuce, because most of the lettuce went with Baden to work. Also, I ate most of the lettuce last night. And then, of course, I get self-conscious about talking while I'm eating, in case you see the food in my mouth. My mama didn't raise no open-mouth chewer person. I want to get hit upside the head by my mama. If it doesn't go great, now you know why I'll be chewing in some of the shots. Because then I'll have to cut out most of that eating stuff, right? So last year I read a book called The Wild Robot. I loved this book so much. Once I started it, I could not stop. I had to get to the end to find out what happened to this robot. But of course it bred a number of questions. I love writing stories about stuff that happens in the future. I'm not so interested in things that are happening now. Tell me if you have this same feeling. I think I have enough stories about the here and now to satisfy me. Satisfy that part of me that would ask, what if? What if this happened? What if I was run over by a car? My mind is endlessly fascinated by the things, what if, of a future that we don't know. So that I can make up something that I think would happen in the future or that I would want to happen in the future and then write it in a story. That is what consumes my thoughts when I'm writing a story. About this robot. Hold on. Hunger is calling. It's so good. I remember in secondary school, I was at Gayaza High School, and as an A-level student, we were allowed to go down to the village at the weekend. You signed out, you went down to the village and you know, ate food at a local restaurant or did whatever, walked around if you didn't have any money. Me and a friend of mine would go to the village and we would buy fresh red onions. And then we would eat them with cassava and walk around the school to our friends going, hi, so that they could get the full blast of our onion breath. Don't ask me why I did this. I was 17. One of the reasons why we love stories, why we enjoy listening to stories, we love hearing the thoughts of other people's minds, is not just because they set up a fantastic world and, you know, there's all these crazy things that we never thought of that could happen. They describe a city you're in that you love. None of that. What fascinates us about characters in a story is their emotional and personal journeys. We're constantly chasing that as we read story after story after story. But what happens when you're writing a story about a robot? What I found fascinating about The Wild Robot, and I encourage everyone to read it. It's a short book. It's written for children, so the language is easy and you can finish it quickly. What I found with this robot was that I was transfixed. It had no emotion. It didn't feel a certain thing about anything. It just needed to survive and needed to take care of its community. Like that was its only requirement. The crafting of this story was excellent because we all understand what the need to survive is all about. When she is in danger, we feel that we are in danger. I found myself so attached to her and attached to her survival. The reason why I love to think about things in the future is because I can put my imprint on anything. And I think that it is fascinating to think of that. I mean, someone thought up a tablet that you just, tap in order for it to give you information, to read books, to communicate, to read data, and so on and so forth. And then somebody in the real world went ahead, was inspired by it, and went ahead and created it. That is very exciting for me, to come up with technology that someone ends up going, ooh. I find it endlessly inspiring. Part of what I dream about of the things that may happen in the future is us slowly transforming ourselves until we have no biological parts. No parts that are born of flesh and blood and bone. And we're just completely something else that we may or may not recognize right now. But I have this notion that a lot of our human experience and our instinct to survive and the emotions that are born around this idea that our bodies are easily destroyed, that death, it can be just around the corner. We're always constantly thinking of it, and that shapes what our human experience is and gives us emotions around survival and the anxiety, fighting against a foe to thrive. But what happens when your body is so resilient that you don't have to think about survival in those terms anymore? Then what is it that becomes very urgent? You may not even have adrenaline in your body to get your heart pumping because you're anxious about something. You know what I mean? So when you're writing a story about people in the future who exist in a body that is not necessarily biological, or it is biological, but we have figured out how to make it so resilient to be able to exist in a world that doesn't have oxygen, or to go for months and months without any vitamin D, or the need to drink water, or electrolytes to keep our hearts pumping. What happens then? How do we describe the human experience? And can it be a human experience anymore? Because are we human? And that begs the question, what is it that makes us human? Is it what our bodies are like? Sort of what you can see under the microscope or in a scan or through a blood test and you say this person is a human being? Or is it the sum of your experiences? Because I tell you, Roz the robot personified a lot of what we expect of the human experience if we are thrown in that kind of situation, to adapt. Now, of course, she had a special skill because she lived amongst the animals and could communicate with them. She was a robot after all and could understand their language. This is my main question. How do we write a story about human beings who cannot be defined as human beings in any shape that we understand them now? Because not everybody would choose to have a humanoid body. Some people think that having many more arms is what will make them powerful or useful or able to do their jobs. Maybe people who are so in love will occupy one body with two heads, or just exist in an ether somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, not only will they change their physical form, but what we understand about what makes us human, the emotions around survival,